So I've been getting into a Twitter argument with someone over how bad the drought is in New York City itself. I will link their Twitter account in the description, and you should follow them on Twitter because they are a really great person. But I have been getting into this argument over them about how much the rain is needed in New York City. And I'll give you some context first. Models are very off with how much rain there is in the city due to a very sharp cutoff. Some models are predicting only 0.1 inches of rain to fall in the city. Some are predicting 2.2. For my area, it's been more consistent, with most of them forecasting between half an inch to an inch of rain, which we could use more than that, but we will gladly take that rain. In the city, though, all the models have been really far off over how far east is this storm going to track. But none of them have actually said it's going to track directly over where I live. That's annoying, but it's fine. So here's where the question comes in. New York City's only had 0.41 inches of rain in the month of May. Islip fared even worse with only 0.16 inches. I think that the Farmingdale station is only at exactly a quarter of an inch. It has been very dry, and that's mainly because of the lack of rain. May 1st saw a few overnight showers lingering on from the torrential downpours of the end of April, and we will discuss that heavily in this video. May 2nd saw a couple of showers pass by in the morning, and in May 4th, early in the morning during the rush hour commute, we saw some more showers pass by. But these were not really the kind of showers that actually really give rain. And if you notice the graphs in the video, you can see how the quality of it's starting to decline because the story gets even worse. Now, what really all this did was that it just gave us a few showers mainly to be annoying. We had 12 days of below average temperatures in New York City, and even in the suburbs, temperatures really only managed to fall into the near average category. On May 6th, even though temperatures were technically still below average in New York City, it was only by 1/10 of a degree, effectively near normal, and with rounding, it very well could have been above normal. This was because the low was 48 degrees and the high was 73 degrees, which for a while we thought could have been the last day that the city hit the 40s. Obviously, yesterday proved that to be completely wrong. But it was plausible at the time that it could have been the end of temps making their way into the 40s, and we know how exactly it would fare in the suburbs as well. But that's how the city worked out. And then it got really warm on the day after, it hit 78 degrees. And then we saw a couple of showers lingering into the next morning. But since then, it's been bone dry. It's been totally bone dry. We've seen many days of bright sunshine, except on Saturday. But even then, we only really saw a trace of rain where any rain could be recorded at all. Only a trace. And we saw many days of warm temperatures. May 12th did not set any records, but consistent temperatures in the mid-80s fell across the metro area. Temperatures hit 87 degrees in Central Park and 85 degrees across Long Island. And then the next day, a record high of 81 degrees was set on May 13th at the Islip weather station. The lows, which early in the morning started off in the 70s, but then a cold front moved through and temperatures dropped into the mid-60s by nighttime, which prevented most of these records from actually holding. May 14th, again, another directly sunshiny day, and the warmth was built on from there until Tuesday night happened, when we actually got a bit of a cold front. Although the cold front didn't really begin to make its presence known until Wednesday morning. We saw some rain in other areas, but the front's rain pretty much died out by the time we got to here, adding no rain. Pretty much this entire cold front annoyingly moved through without rain, and then here we are into the weekend where we don't know how much rain we are going to be getting. Now here's where the argument comes in. There's no point arguing that Long Island doesn't need a rain. We need the rain pretty badly here. March rain fell below average. April rain was pretty much just at average. March's rain wasn't too below average. It was below average by about half an inch to an inch on Long Island. The city, again, a rainfall deficit of about 3/4 of an inch. So not too well below average. It mainly comes from February's dryness, which was 2.5 inches below average. But when you look at December and January, it was enough to make the winter's rainfall total near average. Snow was obviously at historically low levels, but rain was actually about around historical average, mainly just a testament to show how this is mainly due to the lack of cold air, not actually because of a lack of precipitation until the very end, when we did have a lack of precipitation. But also lack of cold. Now, once we got into April, it was actually looking concerningly dry at this point in the month as well. It was, because we only saw 0.4 inches of rain in the city leading up to April 21st. Over at Islip, we saw 0.6 inches of rain. Some places were only dealing with 1/4 of an inch of rain. And then 2 inches of rain moved through the night of April 22nd into the 23rd. Out on Long Island, we only saw about an inch of rain at Islip, mainly because the rain front kind of died out. It was good boost, but it wasn't enough. And then we saw 2 systems that combined dumped nearly 5 inches of rain on the city. But Long Island only saw about 2 to 3 inches of rain from these 2 storms that pushed their way through. That's not that much. That's not that much rain, especially when considering how badly we needed it. So Long Island finished the month with just about 4 inches of rain, just about average. The city finished April 7th wettest with 7.7 inches of rain falling down for the entire month. Newark finished third, and they saw over 8 inches. They crossed over the 8-inch mark. But the argument on Twitter was how fast it came down, because pretty much it was 5 inches of rain coming down in 2 days. So what Isaac was saying on Twitter was that if you had all this rain in such a short amount of time, it didn't make too much of a practical difference. Now, the drought monitor will also show there's no drought west of the Cross Island Parkway, but there is drought to the east of the Cross Island Parkway. That highway pretty much runs kind of along the Queens-Nassau County border. And it's a good mark to see roughly where the end of the city is and where Nassau County begins. An approximate mark, too, not actually a set-in-stone mark. And, basically what this means is that with all the warmth that we had, although it wasn't as crazy as April's warmth, we saw temps in some places hit the 90s. Isaac's claim was that the ground really dried up. And the ground drying up argument isn't actually wrong, considering that moisture rate, it's like we're only about 15% saturated, which also means that there would be no flash flooding if significant rain occurred, based on how unsaturated the ground was after it was in the 80s after that storm. But my claim is that there was, in fact, still more rain. And when you look at it, too, we're on such a surplus from April that realistically we could go without rain for May, and our 2-month total would be near average. Now, with March falling below average, that would kind of destroy that argument. And when you throw in February, that 4-month total would still fall well below average. But between the two of them, what Isaac's claim was that no, that's not true, blah, 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 blah. So what happens remains to be unseen. I do think that May, even if we get the best case scenario, will still be a well below average month for rainfall. We did see plentiful rains in April. April 2023 became our wettest month since September of 2021. So I just kind of hope that we continue to see this rain come down, so that we're at least not dealing with a month that only saw an inch of rain, becoming one of our driest Mays on record. And heading into June, it also remains an unclear story. We are looking at precipitation leaning below average, temperatures leaning above normal. It's actually bad for Memorial Day parade too. We want cool temperatures on that day, and I don't think we're going to get them. But as far as the drought goes, it's also bad for that. Now, I don't know when this next rain is going to come in. Once it's the summer, unless you have tropical systems moving through, rain really gets hit or miss. That's why, again, I wasn't happy about our lack of tropical cyclones. Even though they do cause a lot of destruction, unless you can really get a big, severe line of thunderstorms across the area.
Church invite you. Nice church invite you.
Huh?
Come to church. Buffet or lunch free.
Oh, okay. I'll see about that. But anyway, as far as the rain goes, those hit and miss storms, unless you can get a severe line of storms, which we really probably can't get, it's going to be hard for us to really accumulate much rain. And, as the summer goes on, again, the story just remains to be how many tropical cyclones will affect New York City. Because I'm telling you, once we got Ian, our rainfall actually began to become somewhat plentiful again. But it really took until then because, again, of this hit or miss nature, which we still see the storm that affects us will eventually become a tropical cyclone, but I kind of doubt it. But that's also just me.